Hello, internet. We're back on. It's just a trio this week. No special guest. Maybe next time. Maybe next time we'll get a special guest. You'll surprise us with us, Dalan, with the special guest. That we did have fun with Tony, though. I will say that Tony. You replaced the white guy with another white guy, Dalan, at some point. I hope you talked to Jeremy about that. But look, anyways, we're on Salient Points number 37. This one's for the week of September 3rd, 2021. I don't know if you guys are aware, but yeah, we're coming close to the end of the year here, man. At my office, I don't know about you guys, in your offices, in your home offices, fancy
working from home,
fancy
it's
mother
getting
effers.
better.
Man.
Little updates as we go.
Okay, you guys are both working from homers, huh? That's nice, man. Look, the shenanigans I'm dealing with at work is that people are already setting up for Halloween at their offices. So that's the shenanigans I'm dealing with.
You got fired from an office job.
I don't know.
Home office job.
What?
You supposedly got fired from a job.
What? Anyways,
You got
Salient
like
Point. What? Anyways, Salient Points number 37. I'm Carlos Macias. I don't know if I said that.
Nope.
And as per usual, Dalan with the. Actually, no, Dalan, you're over here. I don't know what you're saying over here, but Luis Mendez. He's on the wheels of steel over here. Thank you for joining us, sir, from DTLA. Right? Correct.
you already know.
From downtown LA. He's looking at a building right now. He's looking at the city building right now. Is that what you're looking at, or is it city?
I have the blinds closed, but yes.
All of a
I see
sudden,
all that.
He can be. He can be.
All of a sudden, we can look at the skyscrapers, but we ain't looking at them. That's a funny word, right? Skyscrapers. They touch the sky. They scrape the sky. Dalan, so
are you okay with the English, Carlos?
I'm just introing the show, man. I mean, what are you talking about? So Dalan Kirkwood from Up in the Mountains. So I did switch it up just because you were wilding out a little bit earlier. But besides that, I know you had a couple more comments to say about the MLK thing in Fortnite. If you want to kind of kick it off a little bit with that, Dalan.
Well, it's just the update that right after they launched this whole that whole event of the march. I can't even remember what they called the
March
event
for
right
Freedom,
now.
Dalan. I mean, I feel like
that is not what they called it in Fortnite. But
I think they did call it that.
Is that what they called it? I don't play Fortnite.
Why are you correcting me on something you don't even know about? I mean, what's going on here? Okay, what are your thoughts, Dan? What are your thoughts? And then we'll start the show.
As I said, that they weren't going to do a very good job with it because they were just doing it as a PR stunt, and I was right because they decided to they just did a joint effort with Time Magazine, and they didn't even consult the actual intellectual property owners of the name Martin Luther King Jr. for that matter.
The estate, right? Like his family.
Yeah, the whole estate, the family. The daughter went to Twitter and immediately distanced herself from the whole idea that this thing was happening. Like they gave no permissions for this. People just decided to use it. Don't get me wrong; it's a national holiday to be able to just be celebrated, but she took no part in it, and nobody in the estate took any part of it. And so they just did whatever they wanted with it. And in trying to do whatever they wanted, obviously they knew the emote situation was going to be a problem, but it's also Fortnite, so people will find a way to be disrespectful immediately. And they did. And the next day they had to lock all these emotes and like specific skins and just disallow people from even going
my
in
favorite
there with their stuff.
So there's a couple of things I heard, I think, on a couple of podcasts real quick. One of them was the Wonder Woman one, that they actually legally contractually obligated or something like that, that the Wonder Woman, the whip one, it had to stay in.
Was a Catwoman.
Was it Catwoman?
Yeah,
or
it was a Catwoman.
Oh,
yeah, it was a Marvel sort of promotional thing. So they couldn't disable that one, and people were out there, whipping.
Of course, if that's the only email, and I mean, think about it. That's kind of a little. I mean, come on.
I'm sorry. Did you say Catwoman Marvel?
Whatever. No, DC.
Sorry, DC.
So Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Woman.
That hurt.
But
whatever, man. Who cares about Catwoman?
Dalan's always about the lore. So that was a pretty wacky one where they had to leave that emote in. That was like, okay, you guys are wilding. The other thing was that somebody was mentioning on one of the podcasts I was listening to that that he said that he went to the loading screen after he pulled out of the event or whatever, and it says like, oh, to get better score, try headshots. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's like talking about
okay.
headshots. I was just about to bring that up. They need to fix their screens when you're loading in and out of that event.
Yeah, dude, it's such a trip, man. I still, I'm more, I guess I'm more on the side of a little more offended, I guess, because I don't feel like it's a proper venue for it. But I mean, in some ways, it's like, look, they tried, but at the same time,
they tried something.
But try and like get someone that's like gonna give you some proper feedback on there, man. Anyways, look, you know who needs proper feedback around here? I hope you guys, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sony needs to get their crap together, man. So they already said that for Horizon Forbidden West, they're actually going to charge, like, in order for you to get a cross-gen version of that game, you're going to have to pay for the $80 version of it, which is like a special edition kind of version of it, to get the PS4 and PS5 cross-gen, those benefits for it. And to me, it's kind of like Xbox gives you smart delivery. I know it's kind of a, it's a funny name or whatever, but smart delivery means you're getting the version that is fit for your console, whether it's the best one or the, if you only got the Xbox One S or whatever it is. But I think Sony, I mean, what are they doing out here, man? I mean, I understand, like, at some point people are moving on, right? Like, they're on to the PS5. So it's like, well, why do you need the PS4 version? But, I don't know. What do they need, Dalan? What does Sony need here, man? What are they doing over here?
They are half-assedly trying to prepare for the move to PS5 because they're getting more PS5s out there. But right now they're selling PS5 games for like the AAA games, $70. That means that you're getting the PS4 version for $10 and the PS5 version for $70, and you're paying a whole $80 for that game. But for
the math checks out, Luis. The math
checks out. 70 plus 10 equals 80. You are essentially paying $10 to get the previous generation in hopes that you are going to get the new generation at some point. So imagine you only had a PS4 but want a PS5. And you want to be able to get in on this deal because you don't know if they're going to continue to sell this deal for $80 forever. So you buy it for $80, you have it on the PS4, maybe you don't beat it and you hold out until you actually get that PS5, then you got a PS5 and you got the game and you don't have to pay any extra money for it.
That's fair, right? And that's what they're banking on, right? But they should just give it to you, man. Like, what is this like? Especially when Xbox, like, their rival, right? They got Game Pass, they have all these things going for it. Except, of course, the big exclusives, Last of Us and Uncharted. We know, Lise, we know they don't got Naughty Dog over there, right?
For me, it's different. At this point, stop it. Just sell the two games separately. Just sell one on PS4 for a specific price and sell one on PS5 for the
So you're saying, your argument, Dalan, is charge more, not less. I mean, in a way, they're kind of bundling together. You're telling them, sell it for $60 each one, and if I want both of them, I'll pay $60 for each version. That's what you're saying.
I mean, do you get a choice for a $60 version for PS5 of just having the PS5 one?
Yeah, you do.
Like 20 versions.
Dude, they have 20 versions of Horizon.
But is it specifically for PS5? I mean, a PS5 built version.
Probably.
I would assume so, man. I would assume.
You don't think it's $70 for that PS5 version?
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it is, right? But I mean, look, Dalan. The moral of the story here.
Stumble, go.
No, it's not a. Hold on, give me a moment here. I mean, give me a moment. The moral of the story here is that, dude, just give people the best version that they can run on their system. All right, what are they doing over here, Mister?
Well, wait, Carlos. So, a question on the smart delivery, and then I'll get to my answer.
Okay.
So smart delivery, you get both versions, and it just gives you the one that you have, or you have to pay for either?
No. So smart delivery is you pay once, and let's say because Xbox does this whole thing where they're trying to run everything on every console, going back to Xbox One S, right? So what it is that the system, so the Xbox knows what console you have, and it's gonna give you the best version of that thing. So you don't need separate versions. What it is, it just knows, like it knows if you're loading into your Xbox One X, it knows to give you the Xbox One X version of that game.
You only pay for one.
You only pay for one game. None of this nonsense.
I was just trying to get
none of that cross-gen bullshit. Just give me one price.
None of this cross-gen nonsense, and like we're gonna charge you more for it. But at least what's going on here?
At the same time, though, that is Microsoft. I mean, they're making their money. They can afford to. If they're losing with that system. PlayStation, on the other hand, I honestly don't see a problem with this. I am kind of, I haven't looked at all of them, but I have been seeing tweets pop up of they got like 8, 10 different versions or something for some reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I have a PS4 and I buy the game on PS4, I don't feel entitled to 5 version. Now that's just my point of view.
Yeah.
If I want the game on the PS5, I'll buy it on the PS5. And if
Yeah.
I want to spend the $10 to get the PS4 version
Yeah.
for whatever reason, even though why would I do that if I have a PS5? Then I can do that as well.
Yeah, and I think I've done that for a lot of the games I've done. I just buy the PS5 version, but I have thought about, like, I actually have looked up a few different games where it's like, oh, can I get the PS4 version? And that entitles me to the PS5 version. Because, and you know, maybe it's just in my case, or I feel like it's in a lot of people's cases, right? Most of us, we had a PS4, right? And we got into PS5, but you maybe have your PlayStation 4 in your bedroom and then the PS5 in your living room or whatever the case may be, and you would like to kind of go back and forth. Now you're like, wait, I need to pay extra to be able to kind of flip back and forth like that. So, but I mean, maybe that's just a special case, right? Maybe, you know, that's only
Maybe.
me. But
I mean, I would assume most people that got a PS5 didn't throw their PS4 out the window.
yeah,
Like I have both of mine here; they're both plugged in currently. But if I'm gonna play a game, like right now, PS4, all it is my Rocksmith, because that's all it does. My PS5 does everything else. So, I personally, and maybe that's just a short sight on my point of view because I don't have any necessity to jump back and forth between consoles.
Yeah, so I mean,
quote unquote best version of the game.
I honestly, I think it's just a way for them to just kind of take advantage of people, dude. Like an extra easy $10. Like you're like, you know what? If they want both versions, let's make it inconvenient. Whereas it's maybe not the case for everyone, but for those few, let's make it inconvenient enough. Let's gain another $10 here. We're doing good. Now, one thing that they could be doing good is next week they did say that they're gonna have their summer showcase of PlayStation. They call it the quote unquote the future of PlayStation 5. That's they're gonna do a showcase next Thursday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Now I will say this: we just entered September. These guys are talking about summer, man. I feel like it's still a little warm. It is still a little warm, but I feel like we're kind of getting to the end. So they might as well call this the fall showcase. But this is on the PlayStation blog. They said, quote, the showcase will weigh in at around 40 minutes and include updates from PlayStation Studios and some of the industry's most imaginative developers for games releasing this holiday and beyond. And stick around after the presentation to get more updates from some of the studio teams featured in the showcase. I don't know what to expect, man. The PlayStation Studios, they do some nice, legit stuff over there, man. So I don't know. Do you guys have high expectations of this 40-minute show, Dalan? What do you think?
Well, a lot of my single player games deal with PlayStation. I mean, most of the multiplayer games that I know of are Xbox. Or if, I hadn't bought it on the PlayStation yet and it's now on Game Pass, that's the only other reason that I even moved to Xbox. But I do prefer to play my games on PlayStation versus Xbox. So knowing that these new games are going to be announced potentially within that 40-minute video, I'm kind of down to watch this video just to see what
now they did say updates from PlayStation 2. So I think for the most part we're gonna know what these games are.
That's less exciting to actually put it in that
now you brought my hype levels lower.
Yes.
But I'm sure we'll see some more Horizon, right, or something like that. Maybe we'll see some more of that Sifu.
Those games that they're supposed to be talking about, but they haven't talked about since they launched the system. I don't know.
It's been a little while. Luis, what do you think, man? You got any thoughts? Or we'll see what they show next week.
Yeah, kind of just. I mean, I'll put it on in the background while I'm working, and if it catches my interest, I'll switch the tab. But yeah, I guess I didn't think about that until you said that phrasing. The update.
Is that context, man?
These are updates.
Whatever. I mean, whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, look, they usually show like one cool thing, right? Like we're talking about like the last thing they did was like the Horizon thing, that water man. those water graphics, only on PS5 though. Only with the power PS5.
As long as they don't do that thing where they say, all right, we're going to update you with all these games, and it turns out to be like 3 games, and they just keep cycling the same information. Like 3 20-minute videos of like Deathloop or Death Stranding or something.
Hey,
I don't need that.
Deathloop, from what I heard, that's the most arcane game. And every time people speak up and talk about how it's so arcane, I'm like, stop. I want to play it, but you guys are convincing me less and less to want to play it. I know it's by Arcane. I understand. Stop telling me
like, that's great.
Stop telling me it's the arcanest game that exists. Dalan, what was your top story this past week, man?
My top story this past week, because outside of these particular stories, there's actually a couple of good stories that could be talked about for a long time. But the one that really caught my eye was Steam's 2-hour refund policy leads to an indie developer quitting game development, just altogether. They actually, Emeka Games posted on Twitter, "Friends, thank you for your support. I'm leaving game development for an indefinite amount of time to collect my thoughts." Well, it actually comes from Steam offering a full refund for all games that are purchased, as long as it's and they do it with no questions asked. They don't even ask you why you're returning it, nothing like that. But as long as you do it within 2 weeks of you purchasing it, and you've played less than 2 hours of the game. By itself, that normally seems like a good idea. But for smaller indie games that have short stories, they fall short of that. Or even if it's not just a small story, it could just be a game that is that its core gameplay is about the actual gameplay versus a story. So if let's say, for example, it's just a full multiplayer game, and you get the full experience in like an hour, you're like, all right, I'm going to return this now. But Emeka Games had released the game Summer of '58, which was a psychological thriller, and that game apparently can be completed in about 90 minutes, which is just short of that, but it leaves a good half an hour of gameplay that you haven't touched to just return it. So many people, they had a very large number of people giving positive reviews, and with that, it came with a high number of returns. So the company wasn't getting any money. It's like they don't get paid to actually create games. They get paid based on how many people purchase the game.
Okay.
For the indie companies, they pay to put their game on these services, but they don't get paid by the service to actually put the game on there. AAA companies like maybe Santa Monica Studios.
Well, I mean, it's an agreement, Dalan. I mean, you put the game on there, and then Steam gets a cut, right, from every unit that's sold. So if they sell a copy of a game for $10, I think it's 30%. This is the whole Epic, Apple, and blah blah blah. All these guys are like trying to like not have to pay 30%, but it's basically been 30%, right? So you'd say you sell a game for $10, the developer gets $7, and then Steam gets $3, right? So that's kind of how it works, right? You put it on there, and if it sells, then you gotta give them a cut, right? But you know what? To this though, this is I think it's just people being kind of fucked up when you think about it, right? Like it's like if it has positive reviews, and yes, I understand you beat it in 90 minutes, and then in the same click, I feel like they're doing a review, clicking submit the review, and then 2 minutes later, it's like, you know what? Let me get my refund real quick.
Let me get my money back.
Let me get my money back. The thing is, I don't know. I think it's it's
a loophole. It's a nasty one.
It's a loophole. I think for the most part. So there's like two sides of this, right? On the one side is some games are really terrible, and you learn the hard way that you're like, I don't like this, and you return it, right? So no questions asked, right? Like if you ever try to return a disc to GameStop or Target or Walmart, you basically can't do it, right? Like you opened it, whatever, maybe you could kind of convince them, right, to return it. I know I've heard people say that, but for the most part, you're not really returning that, right? So I think in a sense it's a good thing, but it's bad because, and even for this game, this kind of it's in a weird position because it is meant to be that type of game, right? Like it's a short experience, concise experience, my type of game.
But a fun experience.
And a fun experience. But the issue is that's why a lot of these companies create these things where they try to hook you, right? And that's why we get dumb like games as a service type of game. Not Destiny though. That one's just beautiful. But that's also a games as a service type of game, right?
But it was built off of a company that was AAA to begin with, moved on to a bigger experience, and they had a storyline.
Well, okay, and that's fine.
Stretch over the 2 hours.
Yes, that's fine.
But a lot of these indie companies can't do that.
Or
at least they don't build a story that's large enough to do that.
Yeah, well, they just don't have the resources or whatever it is, or maybe it just to them it's like I just want to make a tight 90-minute story, right? And I think unfortunately this is like whenever you rely on like people's what is it called, like their good intentions, goodwill. Yes, exactly, the goodwill, you're gonna get screwed. And there's an unfortunate loophole to this whole thing, right? But at least what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I was gonna basically say that part at the can't just bank on people.
Oh, Luis, you're cutting out. You're noticing Luis cutting out too, Dalan? Like his mic?
He's been cutting out. But even with him cutting out, he's still recording on his side, and I get most of the conversation.
Well, but I'm recording the video, though. That's the thing. Like, it's not going to pop up on the video.
That's true.
Much of anything, so I don't know.
Okay, well, we can hear most of what you're saying. You guys check out the audio if it's that annoying. It just cuts up every other word or something, every 10 words. All right, go ahead, Luis.
Well,
Come
on. Yeah, it kind of just sucks that, I mean, if you're a developer developing a game 90 minutes, putting it on, you kind of have to have that at the back of your mind, right? You think maybe they should make this game longer or wait a little. Have to pass that power through. But yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, you have, it unfortunately puts people into this thought process that is like, I gotta at least cross the 2-hour mark, where it's like at that point you get into maybe padding it or figuring out how to like keep people engaged, whereas otherwise it's like it could have been a nice finite tight 90-minute experience. Like if you guys ever played Journey, I think it was like 2 hours long, man, or a little less, you know, depending. And I can't imagine like me being that much of a jerk. I'm like, I must send this back. It wasn't that. And even Journey did the thing where you could go back and play online. You could do some co-op stuff, right? And
yeah, but a situation like this makes me think of people who want to get into game development, and their best way to get into game development is through an indie game where they can actually start at the base and start building up some sort of revenue based on a really nice indie game that they sold. But if nobody's keeping the game that they're selling, then why stay in the business?
Yeah, I mean that's why
you're not getting any money.
Yeah, that's why the developer Amika Games, right? They said we're out. we're gonna figure some shit out.
I mean, we're gonna collect our thoughts.
Yeah, Luis, what are your thoughts, man? Or what's your story of the week? My bad. What's your next story of the week?
Yeah, I guess still on the topic of selling games on platform. South Korea passed a bill that will outlaw app fee requirements. So that means they're basically to prevent app developers from adding their own proprietary payments. Or sorry, it essentially guards developers allowing to put the proprietary payment, so you don't have to use whatever the App Store, Play Store has. They take away your 30%. Now you could in South Korea, you'll be able to, if their president signs the agreement.
Oh, dude, Luis, I'm sorry, man. You're cutting up nasty, dude.
You're cutting up nasty, dude. Now it's become a longer period.
Yeah, you're cutting up so nasty, dude. I'm trying to. What is he saying? What is he?
How's that?
Oh, okay. Try.
I'll just use that shitty ass mic.
Well, it's not that we couldn't hear you. It's just that it kept cutting out.
Yeah, man. My bad, dude. I'm like, damn. I think we could make sense of it.
We were trying so hard to actually understand you. I was like,
all right, we're back on the record here. Hey, I hope you get a little like TV static thing, Liz. That's my favorite one, dude.
I got something.
Oh, you got a little something wackier than that? Because that's one of my favorites, dude. Anytime I've messed up recordings, trust me, I've lost recordings. I've messed up recordings in the past. TV static is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. But Liz,
ready to rock.
So Liz, what was your we're gonna go back a little bit here, but because you were kind of cutting up a little bit, and I was like, damn, like you should have seen on the video. I hope you could see on the video that me and Dalan were like intently like We need to follow his story.
I couldn't because
We
I
were
was
trying
reading
so
this
hard.
text.
We have to follow his story right here. Lace, what's your big story of the week, man?
So I'll keep the segue. Speaking of selling games on platforms, we got South Korea to outlaw app fee requirements. So South Korea's National Assembly has passed a bill this past week, and it'll prevents banning app developers from adding their own proprietary payment systems. So they're going to be taking back that 30% cut that Apple's been taking away from them. Um, so I guess the potential implications here are that this could be cited by lawmakers in the EU as well as the US in the continuing case with Apple and Google versus Epic Games, or I guess it's just Apple, right?
Yeah, it's just Apple.
Yeah.
But you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you're specifically talking about the impact that it'll have on Epic suing Apple in this case, because I know that was their thing, is that they have their in-app store purchases, but Apple didn't want that, and they were mad at Epic for it, and they banned them from being able to do anything with them for a while.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, this would be a potential. It would potentially affect us, but it wouldn't just be limited to this, right? So, for other cases, they could start making the case if their president signs this bill and approves it, that now nationally it could become national law based off of this sort of people just saying, "Hey, look, well they did it, right?" So, yeah, and I guess as a little bonus statistic here, I found that according to a CNBC analysis, that Apple's App Store gross sales this past year were 64 billion. So that's that 30% cut they're
Oh,
taking.
that's at 30%.
Yeah, that's why they're holding on to that for dear life. You know?
Now, I will say this, though. So this is basically they can't charge anything at all on the platform. Like if they're taking back the 30%.
No, that's not it. They could still, if an app developer just goes, you know what, we're not going to figure out how to add our own payment system. We'll just Apple takes the 30%.
Okay.
But if an app developer says, you know what, we're going to add our own system, just like Epic was doing, right, in Fortnite, you could like preload V-Bucks on a website or something, and then it would go into your game.
Oh, but this is specific to like you're saying V-Bucks. It's not the like I bought this game through the App Store and I'm gonna get 30%. This is like any further transactions within the game, which most of these games are free, right? So
Right, yeah. So
well,
any
the one thing
in-app
about
purchases,
that,
yes.
yeah, the one thing about that is if you're playing Fortnite on an Apple product and you're purchasing something in the game without purchasing V-Bucks directly from the Epic Store, you're still giving 30% to Apple in that case, even though you're buying something in the actual game. But if you leave the Apple product, if you don't use the Apple phone and go directly to Epic's website and purchase V-Bucks there and then have it show up in your game, it'll transfer over to the Apple product. And now Apple's not getting any money from that sale.
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not here trying to protect Apple here. But, I mean, you are on someone's platform. Should it be 30%? I don't know if it should be 30%. Maybe it can be 1.5% or 2%
they've
or
changed that
whatever.
to 15 if you don't
I was
make
about
a
to say
certain
change
amount
it
of
to
money or
12.
something.
Yeah.
Change it
Well,
to
because
12.
look, when we have some, I don't know what charge. Maybe it's included in the price of things or something. But I remember for a while, like credit card companies or whatever would be like, oh, they do it now. I think some
Convenience fees?
like convenience fees or whatever they charge. Like it's exorbitant, man. Whatever the fuck they're charging, it's a lot.
There's the annual fee, the convenience fee.
But what I'm
going
saying,
all extra there.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
but I'm
but-
talking about per transaction, Dalan. Like when you go to
yeah,
a store
there's
and they'll be like,
definitely
we charge 50 cents or whatever it is, and sometimes I think sometimes the convenience store wherever you're going, I think they eat the cost, right? But there's always some kind of fees. I mean, look, 30% is quite a bit. It's a nice little chunk of change. But I also don't feel like it should be 0%. You know, you still are on their platform. You still are in something they're providing. But I'm more than willing to kind of go into that conversation, right? Where it's like maybe it should be 0.00002% or something. But you know, you are on their platform, right? They are providing some kind of service to like somewhere we could a storefront, if you will. 30% is a little steep though. But Dalan?
Yeah.
Or
No,
Luis?
I ain't got nothing left to say.
Luis, before we move on, what do you think?
Yeah, that is because I mean I kind of agree with that, right? Like it's tricky because it gets into the situation where these are the places where you buy apps or you use apps, right? The Google Play Store, the Apple Store, or the App Store. So they're controlling a market, right? And if you prohibit people from being able to like, oh, you know what, maybe we'll add this, like then it gets into that whole this whole situation that's happening here because you're such a big company that you're sort of controlling this sort of space. It kind of gets a little too, crazy.
Yeah, a little
But yeah,
monopolistic, I suppose. I
right.
mean,
So, but yeah, if you are on their platform, like I don't expect that to be free, right? Like they're just allowing you to put stuff up there.
yeah,
But also like that whole thing that happened where they just took the game down because they added this is kind of like, okay, now you're being a little Grinch out here. Like,
yeah.
but now we can see why, right? They're making $64 billion off of that 30% cut, so they're trying to protect their money.
And I mean, it was one of those things that when you say like, "Oh, competition solves all," it's kind of like sometimes it doesn't really, right? Because Epic, was it Epic? I think Epic was the one that was like, "Okay, come to us, and we're gonna do 18% instead of 30%," and
Hmm.
apparently it just wasn't enough. Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was Steam that did that for their people.
No, I think Steam's has been doing that 30% for a while. I don't give a fuck. I mean, we can look it up. We can look it up and bring it up. But there was somebody. I think it was Epic.
We talked about it.
I think it was Epic, and I think that's why it's a whole thing, right? I'm assuming that's why there's a whole case, or that's a part of it
yeah.
that is like, wait, we lowered our rate, and people still don't want to come to us. I don't know what it is, right? But we can look it up and bring it up next time. But I do definitely feel like that's. You always hope that like a competition will solve all, but it's like, dude, when you're Apple, I mean, look, they've been at it for a while. They've been at it since 2008. They've been at it for a good long while. So, Dalan,
I thought about it. I was like, no, you're right. It was the whole thing that Steam kept it at the right amount, and Epic lowered their price, so people were pulling from Steam to go to Epic.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see. This definitely can have some wide-ranging implications, right? I mean.
Hey, man, it's going to have that ripple effect, and I'm afraid that Apple's going to be like, you know what? We're going to start charging for a bunch of games now, just to buy them. Like, they're not going to be a bunch of free apps no more.
All right, so we'll move on to the quick hits here. In quotes, quick, because something not so quick. So this is one thing. This is from Bloomberg, our favorite source here, Luis. They're saying that games console supply for the coming holiday season and even next year doesn't look good. If you are planning to buy a Switch OLED model, or as they call it on Twitter, the SWOLED edition, be sure to get that first batch. So we're not like this chip shortage, this whole thing that we've been hearing about, man. It's apparently, we trust Bloomberg out here, right? We can trust them.
Sure.
Who got
reputable.
Somebody got swole.
The SWOLED, Dalan. And remember,
OLEDs. I'm gonna say swole.
Dalan.
They swole.
Dan, the OLED can only be 4K. All right, so let's get that correct here.
That's what it needs to be. All right,
but yeah, you know what? We're dealing with this, so I don't know, man. I kind of want to play that Metroid, the new Metroid on that SWOLED, man, but. I don't know. I'm not convinced quite yet. Luis, what are your thoughts on this, man? That we're far and away from like these things being ample supply.
That's crazy how it's still having these ripple effects from the whole, COVID from a year ago, I guess. We're not out of the woods yet, but resellers rejoice, right? So now that holiday premium price is going to be coming up on that if you want to play that Metroid on the SWOLED model.
Yeah, I know they're rubbing their hands together right now. I know Prue. Hey, Prue, there goes your pro tip, Prue. He was on Salient Points episode 2, so make sure to check that out. That was a good episode, I feel. It was an interview episode. We got to interview some more people. Besides that, so the new PS5 model is out in the wild. I think we've mentioned it before. It's like, I like how it's like 300 grams smaller or less weighty or whatever. But so one of the things, so there was a YouTuber, his name is Austin Evans. He actually was covering it, and I guess he got his hands on the new one. And one of the things that he said is that it's actually worse than the launch edition. And people just, came out of the woods and were like, what do you mean? How is it better? Da, 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 da. And he actually came out and doubled down on his statement. That's actually worse. If you guys want, it's at VGC.com or videogamechronicle.com. And this guy went off, man. He went off. So I only got a couple of his quotes here. The first one is... he says, quote, "What I saw was that the new PS5 runs hotter And with the thermal images that I was able to take, plus the fact that I tore open the PS5 and saw that Sony has significantly reduced the size of the heatsink, putting two and two together, I determined that it is a downgrade compared to the first model. And then he also said the PS5, it just simply has a smaller heatsink. There's less aluminum, there's less copper, there's less material, there's 300 grams less. That's what we just mentioned.
And like 8 Pop-Tarts less or something?
8 Pop-Tarts less. None frosted, please, for Dalan. And the I'll let you.
I feel like I just got hit up right now.
I'll let you defend yourself. I'll let you defend yourself. Hold on, Dalan.
No, I'm just gonna let that one float out there in the ether. Continue on.
And the laws of physics pretty much simply dictate that there's less material and less surface area to remove that heat off the chip. I know one of the things, so it wasn't mentioned here on these quotes, but one of the things I was hearing is that maybe what is happening is that he had a thermal, like whatever, like a measurement, right? He could measure the heat coming out of the system, but people were saying that it's like, oh, it's because all the heat is being removed. That's why he is doing that. I don't know if you guys buy that. Dalan, please to tell us about the unfrostedness first, and then your thoughts on this.
I love my unfrosted strawberry Pop-Tarts. Enough said. All right, but the other one...
I mean, dude, the frosting makes it, dude.
Hey, shut up. I like what I like. Now, in regards to the PlayStation, they have plenty of surface area for that heat to move to the rest of the PlayStation. But that's just a bad idea, obviously, being that if you cut out most of that material and you have less of a heat sink to be able to capture what is essentially the same amount of power being output, but less absorbing of heat, then you could start to like melt parts of the products in the PlayStation. You're going to have a whole new PS4 issue. You're going to start hearing airplanes real soon.
The wind tunnel. You'll start hearing the wind
engines. You're going to hear jet engines, wind tunnels. It's going to be all that in a bag of chips on top of the
Now,
wind.
Knowing that, Dalan, would you be okay with grabbing the new one, or you definitely would try to avoid it if possible?
No, I'm avoiding it if possible. I have my first gen PS5, which should have had plenty of other things that came with it at launch, but at least they're working on updating the PlayStation to that 100% point, to that TI point, if you will. But you know that this little 300 grams less thing, not the way to go about it.
Well, look, Dalan, and also, so we're brought to you by Unfrosted Pop-Tarts and also Nilla wafers.
Oh,
if you guys are looking at the video, Dalan has Nilla wafers clearly in the shot. So who are we waiting for sponsorships? Nilla wafers, GameFly, Game Pass, and Unfrosted Pop-Tarts. Only Unfrosted, please.
Hey, we're ready for sponsors. We'll always sell your products.
So speak for yourself, Dalan. Damn.
Hey, man, no, I get to tell you a story now that this all came up. I went to a shindig recently, and I had a guy from London who had never tasted a lot of American junk foods, and one of them, I brought this bag of Nilla wafers. It didn't have the box; it was just the Nilla wafers itself. And I was like, "You want one?" He was like, "No, I don't want one." I was like, "Hold on, smell it." He sniffed it. He was like, "Oh no, I gotta try it."
It's a vanilla, man. It's a vanilla.
Yeah, man. He says the vanilla is too delicious.
Good job, Dalan. Thank you for regaling us with that tale. Lise, start off with, would you try to avoid the new model, or is it not that big of a deal? And please to explain yourself.
I mean, it's not applicable to me. I already have a PS5, and I live in a studio apartment, so there's not many other places I could have another console, right?
There's not much ground to cover. There's not much real estate.
I mean, I could, if I wanted to, I could play my PlayStation from my bedroom right there. So that little corner.
Just hang it on the wall. Just hang it on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens, right? We might have a little yellow light of death situation from the PS3 again.
Yellow light of death.
Yeah, dude. You know what? I got hit with both of those attacks, man. I feel like I was personally attacked with both the red ring of death and the yellow light, dude. I got hit up hard for both of them.
I got a yellow light twice, man.
The problem with the yellow light, though, was that I had, the original. It could emulate all the PS2 games, right? Remember at the very beginning? And they gave me one back. No, actually, I think I yellow light once. Sent it to the shop or whatever, right? And they sent it back, and then they yellow lighted again, and they told me, they had the audacity to tell me, hey man, we got the newer models. Do you want the newer models? just give it to me. So that's how I lost my full backwards compat, man. I hate you, Sony, but I love you.
All right, so
for the PS5.
Sony, you don't have to promote us for this one.
Okay.
We're just hating on you. So the next thing, PlayStation Plus games were announced for next week on Tuesday. There's going to be Overcooked All You Can Eat, Hitman 2 on PS4, and Predator Hunting Grounds. I know, Dalan, are you hyped about any of these games?
I'm down to play Overcooked with you because you were the one who got me on.
And I think it's online. I think.
Yeah, I was about to say
option.
if it's online, Luis, pick it up. You get to find out the I can't even think of the word for it. It's chaos. It's straight chaos.
I've played Overcooked. It's alright.
But you haven't played with us when Carlos half drunk on whatever alcohol he's drinking at the time.
I could imagine that's going to be frustrating.
And Lily's trying to figure out what's happening in the background, like the whole ship's on fire. We're trying to cook a burger. It's not working right.
It's wacky. It's wacky indeed.
I know you guys are more for the Hitman series, but I am going to pick up Predator Hunting Grounds because I was actually really looking forward to that game. Then I was disappointed with the beta that came out.
Oh, it was terrible.
Though,
I'm pretty sure it didn't change much for the full release, Dalan.
But at least I get to try more of the game without having to pay for it. And I'm sure it's still going to be just as frustrating. I'll probably just drop that game and delete it from my PlayStation.
I'll play a match or two, maybe, possibly with you, Dalan. But that game was rough, dude. It was rough. Oh, and by the way, I got from GameFly the new Alien game, or I haven't even opened up the case or whatever. Like, no one knows about it, dude. I have not heard not one person mention that game. It came out like last week. So
it actually dropped. People have been waiting for that.
Well,
game.
apparently not that much because they ain't nobody talking about it. But next week, Overcooked All You Can Eat, and I think it does have online, so we'll have plenty of fun with that. I think we even tried doing PlayStation Share Play, right, Dalan? That's up, but it was rough, dude. I mean, Share Play is okay, but for Overcooked, I don't know, man. I don't know. So we did try that.
Wait, I'm trying to think of this Alien game. Alien Fire Team? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. The co-op game or whatever. I haven't.
Yeah, man, it's co-op. People need to be playing Alien, especially if you like that aesthetic. But we got to find out if it's any good.
It might. I'll open it up at some point and try it out.
You'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. You guys will hear about it soon.
Let me know if I need to buy it, and then we play it.
Okay, I'll let you know. So CD Projekt Red, they apparently can't guarantee that the next gen edition version of Cyberpunk 2077 is coming by year's end. So they had said we're gonna get a next gen update. It runs okay on the PS5 if you guys are still wondering about that, which I'm like, I don't think many people played it on PS4, man, but it runs like trash on there. But Luis, what are your thoughts on this? That they're like, nah, we'll see. I mean, we'll get it to you if we get it to you.
I think it's fine. It's better than the alternative of putting them through. I'm hoping that this means that they're not, doing this whole crunch push to get this PS5 update out. So if that's what that means, then perfect, right?
Yeah.
It'll come out when it's ready. But yeah, it's like they haven't released this game and they still just can't get out of the news. It's fucking wild,
dude.
They got robbed.
You know what? And it's like on sale for like $10 too, dude. At some point,
Best Buy.
Look, honestly, at this point, when we're gonna get this next gen edition, it's gonna be on PlayStation Plus, man. It's gonna be like, you know what? Let's give the PlayStation people. We delayed Horizon. We don't have no big holiday game. Let's give people free Cyberpunk. I wouldn't be surprised to see it on PlayStation Plus by the end of the year.
Hey, man, just make Witcher 4. It's fine.
Yeah, and apparently they're working on that to kind of get it next, which I think people probably would be more hyped for, right? Well, not Witcher 4, Witcher 3 next gen version of it.
Hey, man, Witcher 4, people would still be hyped.
I know, Dan, but they're like not. Well, I'm sure they're working on it. The preliminaries, if you can use that word. So the next thing here, what's preliminary over here? I don't know if you saw the video, Dylan. I hope you did. But the Dead Space reboot is supposed to have a new quote-unquote dynamic flesh-peeling system. Now, what they have out there is probably what like Amazon was like looking at, and they were like, "What? This is what our 100 millions are getting us right here? Fucking skeletons and no true graphics." But so to me that was a little. If you guys saw the video, it's basically they're comparing the 2008 version of Dead Space with like the 2021 version, but not all the graphics are in. They're just kind of showing off the peeling system, and I was like, I'm too distracted by like the grays, and I gotta pull the funding on this. You know, we gotta pull the funding.
No. They have the other video that's up there that's like 20 minutes long, where they also compare it to the ray tracing system that they included in it. So even though they're showing you one layer of it with the flesh peeling system, they have multiple layers that they are adding to the game. I don't know if they're changing the gameplay in any kind of way or the story.
It looks like very similar, right? It looks like pretty close with the original.
It looks like a 1-to-1 with a new skin on it. And that said, I'm down to play the game with the new skin if it's not as clunky, if it moves just as quickly, if they could actually upgrade the dynamic sounds that came with the game, because that game was creepy. I loved it.
It played pretty smooth though. I haven't played in a while.
2008, it was still smooth for its time.
Because you just called it clunky, Dale. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
I know.
So is it smooth or is it clunky, man? What's going on here?
It could get a little choppy in the movement sometimes. Okay. But other than that, the game was a stellar game and still one of my top single player games that I would not mind going back to play again. If that game was not on PS3 and so long ago, I'd have been playing it. I'd have been replaying.
Were you so you got to see more, or you're kind of convinced to like when this drops, you're ready to go on it?
As soon as I found out about the dynamic flesh peeling thing, I was like, this is Resident Evil 2, the remake all over again. Let's hope they add a bunch of stuff that makes it even cooler. New weapons, a couple of new rooms that they could add. Maybe they add some windows where they suck some monsters out into space like they did Dead Space 2. I mean, that would be just, let's take all the good things of Dead Space, pile good stuff on top of it, and throw it out into
for me, the lasting legacy for me for Dead Space is still that little hand thing, the navigation thing.
You love the line.
It goes to blue, 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 or whatever the noise is. Blue, there you go. You did it better, Dalan. I like it. What I liked about it though was that it actually gave me like sort of the freedom to like get lost in the world and knowing that I could always find my way. So that's in real life, that's how I treat my Google Maps, man. I'm like, I'm gonna go in this direction because I know Isaac from Dead Space is gonna redirect me, and I'm gonna get back to my destination.
That's why you were so happy when they added that little feature in Outriders with your character. You'd be using that all the time.
Oh, dude, I'll use it any and all times. Well, because I think it's cool. I know some people are like think it's maybe games are too handholdy and that kind of thing, but to me, honestly, I wouldn't explore otherwise. I'm like, I gotta follow the critical path because I'm gonna get lost. But this way, I'm like, oh, I can go this way because it's gonna bring me back to where I need to go.
Let me mark where I need to go, and then I can go.
So that's a nice little feature. Another nice feature for Xbox was for Rise of the Tomb Raider. So we found out that deal, so it was exclusive on the Xbox. I think it was exclusive for about a year, yes. And apparently it was worth $100 million, which, in game development cash money, I don't necessarily think that's the biggest thing, but it's kind of significant, right? $100 million to have an exclusive on Xbox. And I really enjoyed the crap out of that game, and I played it on Xbox because it came out first on there, right? But at least
did they get their money's worth back though?
I don't know. I'm not sure, man. That's kind of hard to make that back because Tomb Raider, I don't know. Tomb Raider, I mean, they made her proportionally correct, and people are like, I don't know.
Will say, just because the deal is worth $100 million does not mean that they paid $100 million for that deal. So the question being is, did they get back what they paid in for it, and are they profiting from it at this point?
Well, I mean, this is just a kind of a reveal that came about that was like, oh, damn, okay, that's how much they paid for it. But, Lise, what are your thoughts on this, man?
My thoughts are that Dalan should have put yes on this story.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even know. I was going to say that. I was like, I put no for sure. I'm just going to change it right here.
I mean, it's too late, Dalan, at this point.
No, I'm changing it.
And on that note, I actually don't remember putting yes. I don't remember putting yes.
Okay, very
reasonable.
So thank you very much, Dalan. Thank you very much for... Yeah, I mean, it's just a little kind of anecdote, right? That it's like they pay quite a bit of cash when they're kind of setting these games aside, right? Like, I'm sure... They probably had to pay a good chunk of change for Psychonauts too to be like on Game Pass, right? Like, or even like Sony's The Show to get on there. I'm sure they're paying Sony something, right? So to get these deals, but I think at the time it was a big push for Microsoft. So whether they got that money back, who knows? Maybe to them it was good PR. It was good, like we have this big exclusive on Xbox. So, but $100 million, that's no chump change. The next thing here is that there's a rumor, and this is from VGC.com, which is actually becoming one of my favorite sources besides Bloomberg, of course, and the Axios newsletter. But VGC, I like their. If you guys haven't checked them out, VGC.com, which is Video Game Chronicle, they kind of don't politicize too much. They're kind of like this.
They just talk about games.
Well, it's the news. This is the news, right? And yes, they talk about games, but this is the news. Anyways, they have a rumor that Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online, quote unquote, really soon. I don't know about you guys, but I played all these Game Boy and Game Boy Color games like back either like on the Wii or even the 3DS. It was a big push. And I had forgotten and recently remembered that they actually had an ambassador program. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when the 3DS came out originally, it was like $250. Nobody bought the damn thing, and Nintendo said, and this was like a few months later, dude, or like by the end of the year, they're like, you know what, 250 might have been a little too strong. We're dropping it to 170. People who bought it at 250 though, we're gonna give you 5 little games here. So I got like games from Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance at the time. Anyways, Dalan, what are your thoughts here, man? Are you not Game Boy and Game Boy Colored out as I am? You would like to see these games?
Switch everything. For me, is the fact that they need to actually bring back all these games from all these previous systems and just sell them on the Switch. The Switch is doing so good, it can handle all of these games. You can have a little library of all these games. They already have the SNES that's on there. I think they have a regular NES. That you can
NES and SNES. Well, we play Puyo. No, not Puyo. Planet Puzzle League Japanese version. We don't even know the name.
Yeah, but that's SNES, and I know they had the NES one where you could play a bunch of old NES games. Why not add GameCube? Why not add Wii at some point? You got a Joy-Con controller.
Well, David, but so to you, it's not you're expanding on the story here. You're saying they just add everything. You don't particularly care about Game Boy Color specifically.
I grew up on Game Boy Color, and the fact that they would even add those, it is a delight to see, and I would love to see more. So
anything in particular?
I was just trying to make my point there.
Anything in particular from Game Boy and Game Boy Color? Would you like to see?
Hey man, I want to play my. I have my Zelda DX. I think that's what it was called. It was
Link's
DX.
Awakening, or is that what it was?
Yeah, no. It was just called. Zelda DX or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for it, but it definitely was not Link's Awakening. But I was playing that for like ever. At some point, I had a chomp attached to my leg, and I was running around with it. It was just a fun game. Never beat it.
Don't forget about the Oracle games, or is it Oracle of Ages and Seasons? The Capcom.
Oracle
Capcom developed Zelda games. Don't forget about those.
Yeah,
which was originally supposed to be 3 games, and they split it into 2. So you got 2 versions of the game. One was more like puzzle, and one was more like action based.
Then that's the system that Pokemon was out on. There were a lot of good games for both Game Boy and Game Boy Color that they don't play the same way as they used to. And on top of that, if they brought these games back, they would run smoothly on the Switch. Hopefully, if they don't do the PlayStation 1 emulator thing.
So how do you feel about this, Lisa? You anything in particular from Game Boy Color era that you like to see on the Switch?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, it would just be I would love to be able to replay the old Pokemon games, like just being able to go back and play Yellow or Crystal, or
That's like most of our childhood.
Yeah. So yeah, those off the top of my head, and then I don't know. Yeah, maybe it expands onto N64 and then Game Boy. There's a lot of Game Boy Advance games I would love to be able to replay again. So yeah we'll see. And if they're just adding it as like a it's included with your service fee, then whatever, like bring it on, so
that's true. And I mean, they have for the NES and SNES, they've added, as we know, they added even online functionality, which works well enough. We played Planet Puzzle League, and that's pretty nice. It works well enough.
And now Advance Wars is coming out, Advance Wars 1 and 2. Yeah. So they can actually just resell these games individually and still get more money.
Advance Wars.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. No, I wish they would. No. Don't get me wrong. I wish they would. But they already made that decision that Advance Wars, they're going to make us pay for that crap again in December, all right? Along with Big Brain Academy or something like that, which is a multiplayer, it's a multiplayer like Brain Age. I did like Brain Age, man. I did get down with some Brain Age, so I'm kind of a little interested in how that's going to be. The last quick one here for the week. So Naughty Dog is quote-unquote aggressively hiring for a new quote cinematic multiplayer game. It could possibly include Battle Royale, which is one of the things we had mentioned on a previous podcast, that within the assets they have found out that's like they're working on a possibly Battle Royale. The new wrinkle here, I believe, is that it's a separate multiplayer game. What are your thoughts on this, Lisa? I know you're a big Last of Us fan.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't really anything that's crazy groundbreaking news to me. It all kind of lines up with what I would have expected with their development, going from The Last of Us 2 into possibly, when they had to shelve the factions, multiplayer stuff. So, I mean, I would expect it to be a separate update, right? Maybe just a DLC, maybe not necessarily a different disc or something, but they might sell it as a standalone, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all kind of just
possibly, as much as I hate to say it, but it possibly could be like a free to play, like kind of like Halo is doing, Halo Infinite, even their multiplayer they're doing free to play, right?
Maybe if they're going with the Battle Royale, then maybe it lines up with that. But I don't really see Naughty Dog doing that. We'll see though.
And reading this, it's not necessarily Last of Us, right? Or did they say it's Last of Us?
I would expect it to be.
Right. No, it just says that they're hiring, and I expect it to be just a whole new game that just has those types of mechanics. I mean, that's what Naughty Dog does. You got Uncharted, which plays like Last of Us, and they're both excellent games, and they could just do a multiplayer game.
They don't play at all like the same games.
Let's get hit up hard this episode, and I myself appreciate that.
I can see the similarities between the two series. I understand that Last of Us is more of a sneaking based game.
Dalan.
The gameplay mechanics are just completely different, my guy.
Dalan, and look. I try not to hit you up on the words, Dalan, but you did say the two series, so I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that, Dalan. All right, I do.
The two series.
The interesting thing is that they said it's a cinematic multiplayer game, so I will follow you with this, Dalan. That I do hope it's a new thing. But I think they've probably been working. They already said, right? They're working on Last of Us 2, the multiplayer mode of it. So maybe it's in that world. But it is interesting that they're saying a cinematic multiplayer game, because the multiplayer components of The Last of Us weren't necessarily cinematic, right? So I'm kind of interested to see kind of what they mean by that. But hey, man, the show is coming out. That's a 10-episode thing, right? HBO, I think they wrapped the first episode. So I'm pretty hyped, man. They need to release that, and I'm sure we'll get more details on that. We'll move on to what you've been playing. Luis, you haven't been playing too much. You've been pretty busy at work.
Yeah, more of the same, playing when I can. The same old. Destiny, GTA, Rocket League.
Well, we've been leveling. We probably could have used your help the other day. Me and Dalan kept dying over and over on a mission, and I told
he was not high enough light level. He would not have survived.
And I was like, Dalan, I'm not gonna spend 3 hours on this level, man. We got to move on. But we'll go to you, Dalan. So Destiny 2, man. What you been? How you been feeling about it, man? Now that we jump back in.
Well, for Destiny 2 Season of the Lost, it's actually not too bad of a season when you're actually working on that season. And they updated, since the last time I played, they updated some of the stuff for Beyond Light so that you have more abilities that you could go to obtain, which is the reason why we went and did that mission, Carlos. So you need to get on the ball and start getting your extra ability moves.
I'm feeling the itch, man. I was feeling the itch the other day. I was like, okay, what bounties do I need? What I need to start leveling. I still need to get back
man,
up.
Iron Banner is up right now, and I was going hard in the paint on that day one. So I finished all the bounties for that. They're actually more simple to actually get done now. But my only problem with Destiny right now in going back is they have all of these activities for people to go do for previous seasons, for Season of the Splicer and Season of the Chosen. And unless you bought those seasons at the time when they came out, you have to buy all 3 seasons at once in order to actually play the 2 previous seasons at this point. And it's $30, which was very upsetting because they keep giving me these missions and saying, all right, take it back to this place. So I take it to the place and I turn it in. They give me a small thing that's worth like nothing. And they're like, all right, you want to do the next part of this step? You got to buy the Season of the Splicer. And then it takes me to buy the $30 thing. I'm like,
hey, go to the video and watch Dalan over here shaking wildly. That's how upset he was.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
Dalan, you gotta verbalize.
You
gotta verbalize around here, man.
I was gonna verbalize it, but it was very frustrating. I didn't want to just sit here and be like, "Con!" No, I'm just upset of what happens with this previous season thing. If you're gonna make people go back and pay for the seasons, don't make them pay for the whole deluxe package. Just sell each season individually, as you probably were intending. Not everybody wants to buy every season. Maybe I don't want to play Season of the Chosen. I don't want to have to pay for that. I just want to pay for the Splicer season. I don't care about the extra exotic stuff that comes with the package. I just want to do the mission.
Hey, look, I appreciate that rant, Dalan. Bungie, please make Dalan whole again. Please make Dalan whole again. We don't like to see him this way.
There's a crack in the levee.
I still have to get like deeper into it, right? To like get to those points that you're talking about. I'm probably gonna be frustrated. Maybe next week I'll be frustrated on here talking about that crap too. But Destiny 2 it still plays beautifully. I still did like the new missions and stuff like that, and Luis is back on it. The crossplay works, right? For the most part,
the crossplay actually really works. They're starting to get better with the actual what was it called, the roster for your friends. They're getting better with it.
Okay, all right. So more Destiny 2. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more in the future.
I'm probably gonna play after we're done with this.
Yeah. Why not? If Lisa's down to it, we'll figure it out. Yeah, so besides that, I keep playing Psychonauts 2. I'm still having a blast with that game, dude. Like, it's nice. I like the graphics in the game, how they're, like, very kind of clay-ish looking or whatever. It's pretty nice. It controls pretty nicely. It's a trippy adventure. I was just, like... I sent a clip in the chat the other day that it's like it's really a psychedelic trip, some of these levels, man. And they're like, it's like, I hope you can see the world how I see it. And then you start going into somebody's eyeball. I was like, reasonable, very reasonable. So still having fun with it. I think it's about like a 10-11 hour game. I'm super glad that it's a Game Pass game. I probably would have bought it, man. I probably would have paid for it because it's that good of a game. I know Dalan seemed interested. He's like, I gotta go back to the original. And I said, Dalan, don't do that, man. Do not do that. It does not age well, dude. It's rough, man. It's rough.
Man, I'll critical path it.
Trust me, I was critical pathing, and at some point I was like, I'm YouTubing the last couple levels because it's some nonsense. But Psychonauts 2, I'm having a blast with it. It's a pretty damn fun game. The sound design is nice. I'm using headphones with it too to play it, and it's pretty nice. I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop where they tell me it's like, go get a collectathon, but it hasn't gotten to that point. It is useful for you to kind of try to collect as many things as you can, but there's no block yet, as with the original Psychonauts, Dalan. That's one of the bad things, Dalan. At some point you will get to, if you weren't trying to collect everything you could, at some point the game's like, go back, collect as much crap as you can, because you can't move forward if you didn't get 800 of these shards or whatever. So, but Psychonauts 2 is pretty good. If you guys haven't played it, go ahead and try it out. Trust me, if you got Game Pass, you got no excuse. I think it should be PC Game Pass as well, I think.
Well, I'll find out later, and I'll let you know next time. But I will say, in regards to your collectathon type of games, that was really just an era of games. And I'm pretty sure that we've gotten pretty far past that now that we have these open world games and people are finding new ways for people to actually go and do extra activities. But that just comes down to a whole bunch of side quests.
Well, you know what? And I got what you're saying, right? It was that era, right? But doesn't mean it was correct. You know, like how people are like, and people used to say the F word, you know, for the homophobic slurs and all that stuff going back in time, or racial epithets and all that. it was that era, but it didn't make it correct. So these collectathons. Oh, I'm looking at you, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo Kazooie. We're talking like N64 eras, and then this
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
No, hey, whoa! I won't allow you to blaspheme Conker's Bad Fur Day, man. Because Conker's Bad Fur Day, one of the first scenes in that game are like, he's drunk, he's passed out or whatever, and he's like, what do I need to press? He's like, press the save button. It's like, wait, the A does everything? It's like, yes, it's context-based buttons or whatever. Like, that game is so smart, dude. If you guys have not played Conker's Bad Fur Day, it's not just a game about cussing. It is a lot of cussing. It is a lot of childish humor. But it's a very smart game. And it's from Rare, man. It's such a great game. I think that's on Game Pass 2. Possibly,
yes,
or it was Games with Gold or something like that. It was free. Please to play that game, but don't be bringing up Conker's Bad Fur Day like that, Dalan. Please.
It's not like it didn't do the same thing. You still have to collect.
But anyway, no, you don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And there's a poop monster. If you guys don't know, there's a poop monster in Conker's Bad Fur Day. Oh, so good, man. So good. Childish humor, a lot of cussing. Don't have children around when you're playing that. So the singer for this week. Oh, speaking of children, I guess, or kids under the age of 18, and this will make you glad to not be in China, man. But the Chinese.
There are many reasons.
Wow. Okay, David. All right, get a little political here. But that's fair. So one of there's the Chinese regulations that are coming. They're trying to combat gaming addiction out there. So what they're saying is that kids that are under 18 will only be allowed to play up to 3 hours a week. Now I was like, okay, so you just blow 3 hours on Uno, playing some Unes, playing some Monops with your friends, right, for 3 hours. It's like, no, you can only play from 8 to 9 p.m. for that 1 hour, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, for a total of 3 hours a week. And to me, I'm thinking, what do you guys think? Luis, how would you feel, man, if all you could do was play 1 hour Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
I mean, I'm just happy that wasn't the case for me ever, honestly. Okay. But I feel like this would possibly have some sort of counterintuitive effects where now, because you only get 1 hour, you're going to try to get as much gaming in as possible within that hour. So like, if anybody distracts you, if your mom comes in, hey, what do you want for dinner? Like, don't distract me.
This is my hour. I'm focused.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I think it would just make it worse in that sense because you're trying to get that fixed, right, in that shorter period of time. But
you can, you know what, you can understand. Maybe you can understand, they're saying it's a gaming addiction, but honestly, I think one of the more interesting points that I was hearing about this was that it actually will maybe push people out of like the gaming sector, like that people won't be encouraged to become like game developers or be in the games media, or whatever it is. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's interesting. We'll see what.
Don't they also have one of the largest game? They Tencent.
Yeah,
Chinese,
Tencent,
right? Dude.
Tencent owns everything. And by the way, they own Fanbyte and they own all these people. So I understand we want to be political and stuff like that, but let's really look at everything, at the wide swath of everything, including Tencent. What do you own? Dalan, what do you think, man? Would you be a little upset as far as like only having the 1 hour, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
As a gamer, yes, I'd be significantly upset, especially since I've been playing games since I was just a youngster. I was just
a wee lad. Since you were a wee lad.
All right, we'll go with that. I don't know if that fits my decor, but all right. But when it comes to the actual, I'm going to use the word decor.
You're serious.
My seriousness. But it is a matter of that. I know that older people, no offense to older people, but they have this thing of looking at the younger generation playing video games and saying what you're doing is a waste of time. I know that was the thing when I was younger. A lot of older people looked at me and said, "You play video games? Why don't you go out and get a job or try and be an entrepreneur for yourself?"
When you were a wee lad, people were telling you to go get a job.
People would say it, be like, "Hey, put the game down. Go outside. There's a sun out there, and your friends exist." All right. So I know people that had their. I know people that had their parents that said you could only play this game for 3 hours at a time, and then after that you're done for the week, or like the 3 hours for a couple of days, or whatever it is. They would be limited in their time because the older generation just feels that it's a waste of time. But nowadays, people are making a living off of it, and it's still the largest industry in the world at this moment. And or at least the largest media.
Well, Dalan, look at you, man. You got all the Nilla wafers you can eat. You know, based on your you know, on your love for video games.
And you have all the Trulies in the world. That whole fridge is just filled with Trulies that we don't get to see at this particular moment.
I gotta restock it every so often. But yeah, you know what? In case people were wondering, by the way, I was wondering, like, well, how do they track this? How do they do this? Apparently, they're putting the onus is on the companies to like use real ID or real authentication or something like that, where it's actually on the companies to be like, we're blocking you because you're underage. So in case you guys are wondering, that's how they're doing it. It's a communist country over there, you know, they're doing their thing. And we're doing our thing over here too on Salient Points number 37. Thank you guys for joining us. I am your host of the Here Fine program, Carlos Macias. Dalan, I'll bring you back into the fold, man, as per usual. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains, thank you for joining me again, sir.
Sponsor me, Nilla.
Sponsor for the Series Sisters. Luis on the Wheels of Steel, man. Hey, you have your work cut out for you a little bit, man. I got my work cut out for me. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll see. We're running a little late too and stuff. But you know, we'll make it work. Thank you for joining us, sir.
But I think we'll be okay.
So, Luis Mendez from DTLA, thank you for joining us again, sir. And we'll see you guys next time. Latest.